Hello and welcome to the AskDrBen podcast. I'm your host, Ben Johnson. As a holistic-minded physician, I've spent the last 20 years looking outside the box and conducting research to find the true causes of skin conditions and other diseases. And while the focus of my work has been on aesthetic medicine and unlocking the secrets to reversing skin damage, this podcast will also include many other exciting revelations pertaining to you and your family's health and well-being. So let's get started. Well, hey everybody, Dr. Ben back again for another podcast. I thought this time we should talk a little bit about digestive health and the link to beauty. Because for so many people, they think of the only issue with digestive health and beauty is that they get bloating and their stomach extends way out when they eat, and they want to try to correct that. And what I would say is that's the first phase of the link between beauty and digestive health. What we're going to talk about today is how does your digestion show up on your skin, and go through the variety of different conditions that are out there so that you can better understand them, so that you can empower yourself and know where the sources of those conditions are coming from in your life, and you can address them. And then when you address your digestive health, which is such a huge issue for people, right? Because digestive health is it's a joy robber. If you don't have good digestion, you're limiting your foods drastically. You're constantly, if you have IBS, running to the bathroom. It could influence how much fun you can have on vacation. Like there's so much with digestive health that has to do with enjoying your life. So part of the goal here today is to help you enjoy your life more. And one of the ways that happens is when you address internal conditions that show up on your skin, because your skin is a messenger of these conditions, then your joy enhances even more, right? Because we all know how having a bad skin day can bring you down and just make you feel unattractive, and that can permeate into everything you do. So getting the confidence back to be able to feel beautiful and to also get your health back so that you can enjoy the foods that you want to eat to some degree. I mean, let's be honest, it's a toxic world out there, and you need to know where the minefields are so that if you do decide to have a cheat day, which guilty of deciding to have a few cheat days here and there, fewer lately, but oof, man, I'm the cheat expert if you want looking for that. But if you do decide, you can tolerate it. That is the goal. Now, let's set aside food allergy, because it's going to be so variable for everybody, and there's no exact answer as to why someone develops an allergy. I mean, I can tell you that, maybe 15% of the population is allergic to gluten. And they're not allergic to gluten in the traditional sense, meaning if you go to Europe and have gluten, guess what? You're just fine. You're allergic to the modified gluten that is in the Western foods, primarily the breads. They made a gluten that, I don't know, feels better in the mouth, or is more a wheat that is more durable. Whatever BS story they made up, they need to change it back. We need to march Washington to tell them we want the same gluten, the same wheat that Europe requires. Europe won't allow those changes, by the way. And so we want that back, because it does hurt everybody. It's inflammatory to everybody, but some people have a straight up allergy. Again, a relatively small minority, maybe 10, 15% of the population, where you should go gluten free. I don't know. I mean, I guess everyone can make an argument for gluten free because of what I just said, that it is somewhat inflammatory to everybody's gut. But personally, the gluten-free stuff doesn't do it for me. A good loaf of French bread or sourdough, it's hard to pass up, let's be honest. All right, so beauty and the digestive tract. Beyond bloating, which of course is something that we would all like to resolve. The areas on your skin that show up as a result of a digestive issue, they're primarily going to be on the face. Now, when you hear me talk about eczema, my theory is that eczema is caused by candida, which is worsened by mucus. But the mucus that you get is primarily found in your digestive tract, and that's from a variety of sources. We'll probably get into several of those here today. But you'll also see eczema showing up on your arms or other areas of your extremities. If you have eczema on your neck, these are going to be, and your scalp. These are going to be when candida is also the same candida that primarily is coming from the gut, but it travels and it does seem to take up residence in, say, the liver. And so you do see your skin react in other areas. So eczema and psoriasis, in my experience, are both caused by candida, and the liver is often involved. But today we're focusing on, and that is a downer when it comes to beauty. So I totally appreciate that, we should keep that in mind. But the good news is if you shrink your candida population in your gut and in your body, that also impacts the liver, right? If there's candida in the liver, and we all know there's a candida diet. So shrinking candida is something that we should all be thinking about. I've seen a report years ago that said roughly 80% of Americans have candida excess in their body because the Western diet is candida promoting. So candida is one of the ones we are going to talk about today in the digestive discussion. SIBO is another one. So SIBO is a condition where a bacteria, and again, I'm going to give you my interpretation of what's going on because I'm unsatisfied with the conversation about autoimmune disease. And in the case of SIBO, I'm unsatisfied with the discussion of there being a bacterial infection. Most people with SIBO are put on antibiotics, and I'm uncomfortable with it because I think it misunderstands the way that the body works and the way that the body works. And this is proven in past research that doesn't come into Western medicine training, and that is that your body's bacteria, which your body has trillions of bacterial cells in it, your body's bacteria adapts to its environment. This is called epigenetic changes to the bacteria. So it's my belief that some of the bacteria in the microbiome of your small intestine, again, SIBO is small intestine bacterial overgrowth. So the bacteria in your small intestine changes because of the way food is coming out of your stomach. Remember, your small intestine is the next in line after your stomach. It's taken the hits. It's this zone right here. So if you have a lot of pores, a lot of enlarged pores in this zone, my belief is because you're putting a lot of fermented food into your diet and it's actually causing that. And that is a beauty hack. By the way, obviously enlarged pores is one of the ways that skin looks less healthy, and you may argue someone is less beautiful with enlarged pores, but I hate to even say that because, I'm nitpicking all the aspects that we probably all nitpick when we get into one of those magnified mirrors, and we can't help ourselves but notice everything. So that's in this zone right here. And that is, my belief is that bacteria has epigenetically changed because of poorly digested food coming into the small intestine. And so the bacteria is like, this is not how I like to eat this. I like food to be better digested. So as a result, I need to change how I behave. And that's called an epigenetic shift. I need to change how I behave to best get the nutrients out of this food, or to best protect myself from the damage that this food is causing me, because undigested food is a source of inflammation. Undigested food is a source of harm to the microbiome. So, what do? I would tell you that the best way to get this bacteria to change back is to give it good nutrients. So I believe in prebiotics. I believe in digestive enzymes to help you digest food better. And, osmosis has these protocols, and I think makes the best products in regard to those two categories that you can find out there. And honestly, I think we're the only ones in the world saying what I'm saying right now. And let the proof be in the fact that you might be able to resolve on your own these things through better food choices and through strategies like digestive enzymes and prebiotics. Many people treat their SIBO with probiotics. And you might ask, why did you not mention probiotics? Well, thank you for asking. The problem with probiotics is that they're not what your gut wanted. If you really dive into the bacteria that have been found in the microbiome, what you found is there are thousands and thousands of identified strains of bacteria, and maybe 5 of them, I don't know, it could be up to 20 of them, but a very, very small percentage of the bacteria that are found in the microbiome, and everyone has a different microbiome. Remember that, everybody has a different microbiome. But 5 to 20 of the strains, most common strains used out there, are just a small sampling of the actual bacteria of the microbiome. What does that mean? What that means is if you populate your gut over and over again with the spores or the actual bacteria of these particular strains that are available in some supplements sitting on a shelf somewhere, then you have to ask yourself, is this what my gut wants? Is my gut short of those? Is this the reason I have bloating? Because my gut doesn't have, all the strains are not present in my brain right now, but because I don't have that particular strain? And my answer to you is almost certainly not. Almost certainly not. And so some of you might fight back a little bit and say, listen, I took this strain of probiotics, and I noticed that my SIBO symptoms got better. So therefore, doesn't that prove that a probiotic can do some good? And I would just say this, just like the undigested food that came out of your stomach caused an epigenetic shift, the presence or the overpopulation of a specific type of bacteria into the small intestine could also cause a shift, could change how you digest food. It might make your digestion, your absorption less effective, but the gut doesn't care because if you overpopulated it with bacteria that aren't as interested in that aspect of absorption. So yes, it's possible that you could influence the SIBO bacteria with a probiotic, but the problem is you're harming your gut to do it. And there's a good chance that you're not actually turning the bacteria back into its old self, but you're just changing it again. And what you really want to do is have your original microbiome. So let's cover that real quick. Where does your microbiome come from? Well, if you read all these ideas on the internet, and shoot, I would even say in the medical textbooks, the consensus answer to that is it comes from your mother's breast milk if you were breastfed. It comes from the foods we eat in the first 2 years of life. And that is how it's developed. Well, there's a real problem with that because you don't have your mom's microbiome. So if it came from the breast milk completely, obviously there's many strains that are shared. And I'm sure breast milk is a source of your microbiome for sure. But remember how many children are not breastfed? How do they manage? Well, are they getting these crazy exotic strains that are found in the microbiome in Gerber baby food? No. Are they getting it in Enfamil, the milk protein formula? No. Are they getting it in, I don't know, pick your food for the 0 to 2 years of age, and I'm just telling you those bugs aren't in there. First of all, almost all foods are cooked. And so if all foods are cooked, then those bacteria aren't there anymore. Second of all, most foods have significant amounts of preservatives in them. So if they have preservatives in them, the chances that there's any bacteria in there are very low. So you should just know it also doesn't come from eating dirt. I've heard that too. Oh yeah, kids are always eating with dirty hands, or they're touching doorknobs. No, those are the nasty bacteria. Those are not part of a healthy microbiome. Once again, what I'm telling you is, oh, actually I haven't told you yet. Your microbiome comes from your DNA. Your DNA. It should not surprise you that you designed you. And so if you simply feed your gut nutrients in general, hence 0 to 2-year-old who didn't breastfeed, seeing their microbiome populate, if you simply feed nutrients to the gut, your gut will use a DNA strategy to make your microbiome. Now, the reason why this is incredibly important is because that means it's exclusive to you. That means that the shelf-bought probiotics that you're getting are almost certainly not dealing with what's going on. Number one, I just told you most gut issues are a epigenetic shift. Even candida, for the most part, is an epigenetic shift. And what I mean by that is candida is part of your microbiome. It has a role in processing sugar. It is a factor in diabetes, in my opinion, that, the shift of your candida population influences how you process sugar. And what we've seen lately is even, through infections like COVID, you can see a shift in the way your candida behaves because viruses influence candida. And so all these exposures related to the last few years are altering. I think we're definitely seeing a rise in eczema, and so I think that would be the explanation for it. Again, I'm just proposing theories to you, but I can tell you it makes no sense to me scientifically that your microbiome is fed from what you put in your mouth, knowing what we know about it, right? I mean, again, if it was fed by baby food, then wouldn't all of us have the same microbiome? Because we're all eating, well, all of us that ate the baby food, wouldn't they all have the same microbiome? Wouldn't all the kids who are put on Enfamil have the same microbiome because well, that doesn't happen. So, because we know this, we have to ask more questions. And I can just tell you where I have come down on this. And I feel very confident in my answer because I feel like as long as you shift what you're doing from the dietary perspective, you take a prebiotic that has no bias to it. Like there's a prebiotic called inulin that I think has a bias towards lactobacillus population, which makes you fat, according to the clinical research. So you really don't want to be taking anything that promotes. Now, I will also say that the microbiome experts will tell you fermented food is how you build a good microbiome. I have not had that experience at all. I have found the opposite is true, that fermented food causes enlarged pores, causes candida excess in the body, and can even cause a change in the bacteria in your stomach and cause something called H. pylori, which is another digestive issue that affects our beauty, right? Because it's showing up on the face. So we'll get to that in a minute. So SIBO, again, what are the things that I find that influence digestion the most? Well, antacids, right? Anything that lowers your acid levels is going to influence how well you digest food. So I would argue that if you can avoid taking antacids, you have a better shot of having better digested food. I think that's a pretty logical statement. I would also tell you that allergy medicines, sadly, do influence digestion and cause a reduction in your ability to digest food. Now, one of the ironic things of that is when you fill your digestive tract with undigested food, it harms the digestive tract and causes mucus. And the more mucus that your gut has, the more mucus you get in your sinuses, the more congestion you have in your skin. Okay, so they're all correlated. So the goal here is to not take things that interfere with digestion. But the other interesting and ironic thing is that taking hydrochloric acid is harmful to the stomach, in my opinion. We see oftentimes where, and I'm just saying in the cases that I deal with, where the addition of hydrochloric acid to a digestive enzyme caused caused a shift in the bacterial behaviors, which again, I believe H. pylori is an epigenetic shift of a bacteria that we have naturally in our stomach, and that you can epigenetically shift it back by changing your diet in most cases. I mean, some people need to go on antibiotics, and some people have success with that, and some people don't. Osmosis has a holistic strategy that we offer to people who are struggling with this condition. And, I think that you would find it helpful. But, these are things where, the proof is oftentimes in what your skin says. So let's get to H. pylori. So H. pylori, where here's your small intestine. H. pylori is a stomach zone that basically goes like this and like that. So it almost looks like a mustache as it comes down, it's like a triangle coming down off of around your nostrils. It is not on the side of your nostril. That's a different problem called acid reflux. But under your nostrils, it is a source of H. pylori, causes redness and or capillaries and sometimes acne in this very specific tiny little zone. This is a major impactor of beauty in America today. Honestly, around the world, we are seeing an H. pylori epidemic. And it's fascinating to me. So I really tried to look into it. And here are some of the triggers that I know of. Taking probiotics will cause a shift and cause you to develop H. pylori. And remember, with H. pylori, you don't digest food well. And so because you don't digest food well, you have the same sort of issues. You can develop SIBO, you develop mucus. So a lot of people with H. pylori end up with perioral dermatitis. So the doctors oftentimes combine the two when they're really actually separate, because perioral dermatitis is usually related to candida and mucus. But you get candida and mucus from poorly digested food resulting from H. pylori. So that's a common one. H. pylori oftentimes associated with what I call candida acne. So acne in the forehead, temples, cheeks, around the mouth, not the jawline, but the center chin. That's what I call candida acne. Again, not a candida affection in the skin, but rather an excess of candida in the gut. And mucus promotes candida. Candida lives on mucus and thrives in mucus. And so what causes H. pylori? I don't really have all the foods, because what I'm going to tell you doesn't cover probably most of the cases, maybe half the cases, I think. I've seen it from B12. I mentioned probiotics. Now, you might argue, well, okay, I've been taking B12 and some people get it and some people don't. I mean, I'm not telling you this is a universal thing. Everyone has a different microbiome that's going to respond differently. And sometimes, like cyanocobalamin is different than methylcobalamin, right? These are two versions of B12. Never take cyanocobalamin, made from a combination of cyanide and I don't remember the other active. But even methylcobalamin, what I'm finding is all oral B12 influences candida, and I think it's cyanocobalamin that influences the bacteria in the stomach that leads to an epigenetic shift causing redness around the nose and H. pylori. The trick about H. pylori is if you go in to try to get a study done, and my son had an entire upper lower GI study, and they got samples from all throughout his upper and lower GI, and he tested negative for H. pylori, and yet he had H. pylori, and at the time he had it, he went through a standard antibiotic strategy that only kind of works. Now, you might also wonder, why do the strategies with antibiotics sometimes work for a little bit and then stop working? Because the foods or the supplements you're ingesting are causing it. So even though you've just taken all these antibiotics, if you're still taking the food or supplement that's causing it, it's going to come back. And so that's why there's a lot of failures. But more importantly, I want to say there's also a lot of false negatives, meaning you get a test, it says you don't have it, and you have it. So here's what I'm here to tell you. Connecting beauty to the gut, if you have redness around your nostrils, you have it. Assume you have it. Redness around the nostrils, assume you have H. pylori. Now, it's true that if you're taking a really harsh anti-inflammatory like ibuprofen or aspirin, and you're taking it in high amounts, you, first of all, affect digestion, but second of all, you can cause inflammation in the stomach that can also lead to redness in that zone. So there is a small percentage of people where that applies, but for the vast majority of people, and I'm telling you, I see it all the time. Why don't you look? You look, and sometimes it's like you have to look closely. Like, wait, you're looking at your client, for example. If I'm talking to a skincare professional, you're looking at your client, and you just see right underneath the nostril this deep red little mark. It's small, but it's there, and it can be there anywhere along and around the nostril. Now, if it's capillaries, that tells me it's been around a while. Okay, redness is how it starts. Capillaries is probably the second phase of it. And then acne, I don't know why some people get acne in that zone and others don't. But again, I think it's all related to H. pylori. So again, you got to remove the offenders. You've got to use protocols that can help your body work backwards and undo some of the effects of these environmental issues. So what you're doing is you're using the environment to bring back things. And so we have protocols for that help your body fix itself. And you can see it when you look at your skin. And that's how you know that your H. pylori is better, is when your skin gets better. So that's the beauty of this. Your skin is a messenger, and that's this link between it. And I'm telling you, H. pylori is everywhere. If you probably know 10 people right now that have it, if you look closely enough. Where else does a digestion show up? We just mentioned as well perioral dermatitis. So a lot of people get stuff around their mouth, and I find that the area around your mouth mirrors the end of the colon. Okay, I'm not going to get too specific to gross you out, but it mirrors the end of the colon. So if you're breaking out or you have a rash around your mouth, I find there's a link between that and candida toxins. Now, why do candida toxins go there? Well, that means the candida, in my opinion, is overgrown at the end of the colon, and that results in a rash-like appearance showing up. Now, what do the dermatologic textbooks tell you about perioral dermatitis? Not a lot. There's theories. I think I've heard some dermatologists even mention changing your toothpaste. I know a lot of internet people blog about fluoride. Fluoride causes a lot of harm, but I do not believe it causes harm to the skin around your mouth. And so if you're trying to look beautiful, your digestion needs to be better. You need to analyze some of the supplements you're taking. The most common triggers for perioral dermatitis, I would say the number one supplement that causes that is magnesium. Probiotics right up there in the top 5. Calcium supplements oftentimes, because they're mucus forming, will cause it. Anything with a lot of citric acid in it. So that usually is a supplement that has something citrate. So it could be calcium citrate. It could be magnesium citrate. But don't be so overdone on the citrate part that you don't realize that almost every form except for magnesium chelate causes mucus in my experience. And many forms of calcium cause it. We have dairy. So a lot of people cut out dairy to improve their skin, and it makes sense because dairy is a mucus former. So if you're trying to work on these areas that are influencing your beauty and that are caused by the gut, it's totally reasonable to minimize dairy in your diet. Now, I want you to know my goal, because I happen to be a dairy lover. So if you're a dairy lover, you know, we're brethren here. My goal is to be able to get your gut healthy enough to be able to tolerate dairy again. And that involves getting mucus out of your system. So we have a protocol that helps remove mucus from the body. We have a protocol that addresses a candida overpopulation. We have a protocol that helps you digest food better. And we have a protocol that helps your body replace the lost bacteria that are in the microbiome. So all those things will change the gut health and not only improve the bloating issue, but it will also improve the beauty effects from that. So, of course, I can't, not talk about the link between the gut and the skin without also talking about candida acne. Again, I have not found any acne that is related to an actual infection of the skin. Instead, what we see, and by the way, lots of research support what I'm saying. Instead, what we see is that there is a reaction on the skin. An inflammatory reaction is occurring on the skin. And there is what you might argue looks like pus on your skin in these little whiteheads, right? That are like caused by the material being produced in your follicle. But just understand that that white material being produced by your follicles is just part of the processing of toxins that are purging out of the follicles of your skin. And so, this is a theory right now. Even if you have published research, acne is a bacterial infection is still a theory by the dermatologic world, and not everyone in dermatology even believes that. So I'm not trying to tell you something that's against what everyone says, because there are a small minority of us who are proposing these alternate viewpoints. And so why is that important? Well, that's important because when you realize that it's actually a toxin purge, meaning there's a toxin trying to come out of the follicle, usually several toxins, trying to come out of the follicle at one time. And so the body is processing the toxins on their way out, processing the toxins so they can be removed. That's the job of the skin. And so when you see acne showing up on your face, it is generally a toxin being processed. It is a sign based on the zone of your face that it's coming from your gut. So let us help you with that. You're probably going to want to change your supplements if you're on supplements and you've developed acne. Anybody who started supplements and saw their skin change should assume the supplements caused it. I'm telling you, their supplements do more harm than good. As a general rule, supplements do more harm than good. And this is somebody in the business of selling supplements telling you this. So the last one that affects beauty and is related to digestion is what I will call digestive rosacea. Now, mostly I find digestive rosacea is related to candida excess in the gut, but sometimes I find that candida rosacea that the digestive rosacea is caused by viral infections of the gut. And I'm a believer that like autoimmune conditions like ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease are actually caused by a virus. And so they can certainly cause you to develop redness on your skin. Listen, I think 10 years ago it was that the British Journal of Dermatology published an article that said that the vast majority of rosacea sufferers also suffered from digestive problems. They didn't link the two. They linked in the sense that they thought that somehow the mites in the face of rosacea were triggering digestive problems. They certainly didn't state in the article that digestive problems were causing rosacea, but they should have, because that is what I am seeing in my own experience, digestive problems causing redness on the face. So if you have a red nose, you probably have acid reflux, but there is some cases of liver causing a red nose, right? The alcoholics get a red nose because of the liver. Usually, actually, no, wait, I take that back. Sometimes that's true, but sometimes it's because hard alcohol is really hard on the back of the throat, and the back of the throat is right here at the tip of the nose in the mapping, skin mapping, which is what I've done after 30 years of analyzing the skin and working closely with my professionals. My skin mapping is dead on, and I'm here to tell you, hard alcohol repeatedly and in excess will cause an erosion of the back of the throat, which shows up as redness on the tip of the nose and oftentimes leads to what's called rhinophyma, classic alcoholic nose rhinophyma. Now, it's not always an alcoholic nose. Sometimes it's a strep infection, but just wanted you to know that that is a digestive issue. So nose redness can either be liver or digestive. I would say 9 times out of 10, it's digestive. And redness anywhere on the face is almost always going to be digestive, just because so many Americans are struggling with digestive problems. Yes, I see liver redness caused by liver inflammation as well. A lot of times I see that from some of the medications that are known to be harmful to the liver, but other times I see from supplements that are either known or not known. Well, I should say, because they're supplements and they're legally being allowed to be sold, a lot of people don't know the harmful poisons in supplements that can cause liver harm. And so that can be a problem. But we're focused here on digestion. So I just wanted to say, if you're getting redness or persistent redness in these digestive zones, if it's with acne, it's absolutely for sure. If you have bumps, some people call their acne milia because it looks like little white bumps, like milia looks like, but it's not actually milia. It's just the way your skin is showing this candida toxin processing. Some people process it much flatter, little smaller, tiny little whiteheads, and other people have big cysts. And a lot of that has to do with how much mucus is in their gut. And again, osmosis is just trying to help people through understanding how to best deal with these problems. And so we come up with holistic protocols that assist the body in processing whatever imbalances might be present. So, have I left anything out? I will say other unsightly things that are digestion related that we should probably talk about. I believe syringoma, which is not that common, but it's kind of a hard white nodule that shows up in the digestive zones of the face, is caused by a strain of candida. I believe sebaceous hyperplasia is caused by a strain of candida. There's 56 known strains of candida. I believe that seborrheic dermatitis is caused by a strain of candida. And so if you're struggling with eczema on the face, with one of the conditions I just mentioned on the face, there's a really good chance there's a digestive link. And so osmosis offers a series of digestive focused protocols to not only help you better tolerate foods, but also to give you a guide on what to avoid when it comes to supplements and foods, so that you can empower yourselves and your clients to have long-term success, as opposed to constantly going in and out. And again, please don't go to laser. Laser's not treating the problem. Please try to use holistic measures, and I think you'll be blessed from that. So have an amazing day, and I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Ask Dr. Ben. Please leave a review if you can, and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts to get access to all of my upcoming episodes. My website is osmosisbeauty.com, and you can find me on Facebook at Osmosis Beauty. And you can also follow me on Instagram at osmosis_beauty. Thanks for listening.